A problem a lot of guitarists of all experience levels often have is an inability to name the notes on the fretboard. I know exactly how this problem comes up, and there's not just a single reason for it, but a lot of it comes from how people tend to learn the instrument. Oftentimes, learning the guitar is a less formal endeavor than learning, like, the cello or something. And maybe that's because there's a certain image that comes to mind when we think of a guitarist versus a cellist. In your mind's eye, which one is wearing a tuxedo? And it's very strange to me because despite being one of the most popular instruments in the world, the guitar is often excluded from music education in public schools, speaking for the United States anyway. I started learning guitar my freshman year of high school, but I didn't learn at school. There was no opportunity for it. I had to teach myself at home for the first couple years, and then I eventually sought out a local teacher. And after a couple years of lessons, I could figure out where notes are on the neck if I had to, but I didn't know intuitively where they all are. It's not something I needed to be able to do to play the songs my teacher would give me to learn, because those were all in the form of tabs anyway. Just where to put your fingers and not what the notes are. I didn't start thinking about the notes themselves so much until I was trying to write my own solo fingerstyle music. I was really getting into guys like Andy McKee and Antoine Dufour by that point. And then when I got to college, I started seriously studying classical guitar. That's where I was forced to read standard music notation. I say forced, but it wasn't against my will. I thought the idea of reading music on the guitar was really compelling. In my mind, I had this sort of presupposition that guitar and sheet music don't go together because of the way the guitar is laid out, but that could not be farther from the truth. It's not without the challenges you would expect, but in practice they are few and far between. I still find that there's usually a single best way to play something from sheet music on the guitar, and it's often immediately apparent just by glancing at it. All these years later, I am now able to name any note on any string without really thinking about it. Give me a string and a fret, I can tell you the note. Give me a string and a note, I can tell you the fret. And I really think it comes from having spent so much time playing the guitar from sheet music. You're reading the notes themselves first and then finding them on the guitar. Do it enough, you start to remember where they are. Versus tab, where you're only told where the notes are and you don't have to think beyond that because, look, you're already playing it. Which I think then results in a musical understanding that is much more physical and pattern-based than conceptual. Not always, but a lot of the time. Many of my current students came to me initially expressing that exact frustration. Part of developing a strong musical understanding where the guitar is your weapon of choice is knowing where all the notes are on the neck. Not deducing where the notes are when you need to, really knowing where they are. How do you get to that point? Of course, like anything, it's not something that happens overnight. You have to work at building it up in your mind. You could do what I did and spend 6 years up through a master's degree studying classical guitar at a university. Not realistic for everyone. Next best thing, learn to play the guitar from sheet music. Even if it's not a skill you'll use much professionally. If you even play music professionally. Simple classical guitar music is a great resource for this, and there's no shortage of it. A lot of good stuff is public domain, so you can just go hunting for PDFs online. You don't have to sight read the music, you can take your time and puzzle it out. The more you do that, the faster you'll get at it. Eventually, sight reading will be no problem. You could also buy a classical guitar method book. They walk through reading music on the guitar specifically. The real book is a great resource too, although here you're just reading single line melodies. In a way, this is actually more challenging. Since you're not locked into a complete musical texture like with classical guitar music, and you're only playing single lines, you've got a lot more options. But finding different ways to play the same melody around the neck is a great exercise. It gets you thinking about where the notes are, what options are more viable than others, and then you can practice like you're studying for a test. You can quiz yourself with flashcards, randomly draw a card for a fret number, roll a die for a string, name the note, play the note, check it on a tuner, see if you were right. Whatever you do, my point is that you are a musician. Whether you're a hobbyist or you do it for a living, you are taking on the task of making music. The guitar happens to be the tool with which you accomplish this. I guess guitars are like cars in a way. You don't need to know much about cars to operate them. But the more you know about them, the smarter you can be about how you drive and how you maintain them. Anyway, this wasn't much of a lesson, I guess, just some of my philosophy. Thanks for watching either way, and I'll see you next time.